Cute Accelerationist Theory, colligated by the Marketable Archive, with Smugbug, international consultant, political author, and CEO.
I'm gonna, speaking of authenticity, I would like to add another layer of authenticity. This chapter had anime girls on the first page, and it kind of made this, any concept in it just slip and slide over my brain. I think I have defenses against this, so I just kind of have not engaged with it even slightly.
Yeah, so to give the listener some context, the artistic interpretation that is on the front of this chapter is what I think is a reinterpretation of a medieval tapestry of the Israelites going through the desert with the pillar of fire guiding them and the Ark of the Covenant on their shoulders, but going from the back of the procession with the banners, the horns, and everything.
Once you pass through the Ark of Covenant.
Once you pass through the Ark of the Covenant, you sort of get moified into a couple different...
become an anime...
amorphic cat girls. It's kind of... the only one that is, like, kind of obviously feminine is the one wearing a schoolgirl and short skirt. Everyone else is wearing, like, pretty traditional Middle Eastern desert clothing.
So yeah, so but essentially so the picture is basically depicting the idea of like you passing through this like hyper mo object, and then you retain some aspect of your like tradition and history, but you have been your like your natural body has been moified, and your dressage continues to be that of the tradition that you're within.
Yeah.
Which is cooked and evil, and it just slopped all over my brain, and I didn't pay attention to it because this chapter seemed the energies were too dark.
So they say, in the end, it is Daddy Admin whose access is revoked, as Moe's sheer indifference inverts the ontological priority, annexing reality to fiction by way of virtuality. Between the 2D and the 3D, there is the 2.5D. Where reality is now becoming influenced by the otaku imagination. Flat line constructs pump down the volume. I have no idea what that means. But they go on to say, this is a perfect way to approach the cute, because it shows how the emergence of supernormal cultural phenomena throws the coordinates of human sexuality into disarray and sets into motion a cyber-positive process. Moe is an incomplete burning.
Oh god, I like this is vomit-inducing. Like, this is essentially what it's saying, in essence, is it's fetishizing the idea of you having an unsolvable, unresolvable, unsatisfactory, addictive, desiring relationship with a 2D fucking anime object. Like, they are literally using the obsession that people end up, the infinite... it's like it only relates to self. This is just atomizing. Like, you are literally relating to an inanimate object, which means all that can happen is your own self gets reflected back into you.
Oh no, not at all.
Horrible reinforcing loop. Yes.
No.
It's a fucking 2D object.
Absolutely not.
It's an anime girl.
No. Listen, they say that the cute objects act as multipliers. If you add cat ears to a girl, it doubles the cuteness. And although they arise from the regime of the sign, their effects are always bodily, and handily enough they say how you can cutesify yourself, at least in the current regime. Saggy socks, bells, cat ears, fluffy tails, antenna hair, maid costumes, nya talk, a little fang, softness, smoothness, roundedness, distractedness, sleepiness, a shy personality, a mysterious power. Not just simple fetish objects, but the signs that emerge through market principles. These are the entities that people actually desire. Instead of the whole object of which they would constitute a part, behind the partial objects of Moe, there is only the database. The database is the egg. There is no organization inherent to it. It has no meaning in and of itself. As the ground of reconfigurability, the database can itself become the object of libidinal investment, just as powerful as those kindled by specific configurations of Moe elements.
Yeah, I'd divorce my wife if she became a fucking database. Do you see how fucking dehumanizing this is?
No, but you draw from the database to cutesify yourself.
Yeah, but you are literally just a construct of different isolated, atomized, boundaried, deterritorialized my ass.
It sounds like you
boundaried
aren't being very
objects.
schizophrenic right now.
I am literally critiquing this from a schizoanalytical point of view. They are literally creating objects with infused value, boundaried by the fucking conception of an Excel spreadsheet, the cells with hard lines, that you then just construct into little assemblages of consumerist object slop that you attach to yourself in order to gain their mimetic value. This is fucking bullshit, dude. This is fucked.
So they say
they are Weasley.
They say dismantle identity and you dismantle guilt, fear, and shame, which you seem to be very afflicted by right now. So the desiring cuteness
Absolutely
of
wrong.
Moe slips into easy autofication. It's funny because I did try to do the whole hard align with femininity thing, even though calling myself a woman made me feel uncomfortable, and I didn't feel like associating with that side of things, but eventually switched to non-binary girl, and then just girl. That's past any human gender because I'm anime now. And this is, I think, the only place where I actually wrote in the book. They say, flat maxing for beginners. Chat, are you taking notes? Are you flat maxing? Treat all consumable features of identity as partial objects and identity as a surface on which they can be placed, permuated, switched out, and rearranged. Take apart the gendered body and remix it with animal elements, plant elements, and machine elements. Proliferate post-human anorganic alloys. Reverse, recombine, and reshape. In the sort of... They say reverse, recombine, and reshape in the same way that Evangelion brackets its ease. Right.
Okay.
Incredible. Now I'm not necessarily promoting that, humans should reconfigure themselves with animal elements, plant elements, and machine elements. But I do think that they do it very frequently in a fantasy environment. In the real environment, I don't think it's appropriate. But in the fantasy environment, I do think it is very appropriate.
How do you feel about the reactionary critique of Dungeons and Dragons? Do you know anything about D&D?
Yeah, I play it all the time.
Okay, cool. How do you feel about the reactionary critique that Dungeons and Dragons has jumped the shark in terms of its setting, where now every village in like core rule books, essentially there is almost like no two of a kind in a village. Like there's like tieflings and fairies and orcs. And
I think that's
and,
very real.
Like every.
So
it's real. How do you feel about that end state of affairs? That
if I were to run a long-term campaign, I would probably ask that like 80% of my players are human.
Okay, right. So it sounds like you are more interested in the exploration of like interiority and identity in terms of those characterizations than the aesthetic. Less important physicality of the races and kind of features that are available to people in D&D, right? Like you literally have a greater interest in exploring interiority than just fucking covering yourself in random horns and skin colors and freckles and alopecia and claws and whatever the fuck else.
Yeah, I think it generally means nothing because there's no sort of narrative or drama that hinges on these sets of identifiers. But if you are a good DM, you should be able to take these sets of identifiers and enforce a fantasy organization onto them, right? So like one of my favorite dungeon masters, everybody is racist against Dragonborn. And the dwarves are slavers, right? So they all get treated very poorly in the setting by people within certain ideologies within the setting. And I think that's a very real way to approach it. But as long the sort of vast panoply of races that are available to players, I think is a really sort of shitty result of the commodification of D&D, right?
Yeah, we agree completely. But do you see how that better relates? I know. But do you see how that better relates to my critique of the idea that just like manifesting all of these different physicalities on top of yourself is actually less valuable than cultivating an interiority and an identity that has like nuance and depth. This is the thing, like your physicality has limitations that your interiority never will, right? Like you can have an infinite depth of character, but you can't have an infinite different number. Like you would literally, it's like running a slot machine on what color your fucking cat ears are is way less important and valuable to anything other than consumerist slop capitalism than manifesting a genuine interiority of different perspectives and ideas and, you know, as they would say, plateaus.
No,
right?
I think that
like,
no, Baudrillard I think makes a very important point, especially when he talks about Disneyland. Right, Disneyland is a very obviously real place, but it is laundering the fantasy of a world that you can sort of just like let go and just swipe your credit card away. It is building up a fantasy that is in contrast to the real world outside the park.
Obviously, but the thing is, I like Disneyland conceptually, you know, divorced from its capitalist parasitic implications.
Nope.
Like
there's no separating it.
Well, there is actually, because if you look at other kinds of experience, right? If you look at like LARPs are a great example, right? Like you don't have to pay to go to a LARP, but they are experiential, and some of them are crazy. I've never been to one, but some of them are crazy, right? Some of them have literally fucking like fake castles that you know, and people camp out there for days and shit, right? So like these are generally not, you know, not paid participation. You know, they might be donation run or whatever, but they are offering you a fantastical experience outside of the, you know, norm that you can play within and identify as something within the conceit of a game. I think that the utopian structure, and again this is very much a reference to City and the Stars, which is a book that very, very heavily influenced me as a teenager. I think the end state of utopianism is essentially these like crafted experiences. Essentially, actually, City of the Stars predicted video games before they ever came out, which is kind of cool. Video games did not exist in any idea, you know, in any frame, and City of the Stars I think might be the first depiction of like an interactive media that is like close to the representation of that video games became today. But the idea is that people would craft like experiences for each other. They would craft adventures. They would craft the experience of you becoming a famous artist as part of the game, that you would live as, in your immortal lifespan. I think that is probably like the utopian end state, is like the crafting of these experiences, and probably these would be ideally community driven and in real life and in real person. So I appreciate Disneyland for its like lip service to that idea. It's just that it's, you know, commodified. A non-commodified form of Disneyland I think would be great.
Hell Puppy says, I love stepping into the magical circle. You just have to swipe your credit card. That's so true.
Yeah, true.
I mean, my favorite session of they do. So they sort of abstract.
Bands, so you don't have to think about it.
Yes,
yeah.
And they do that at festivals as well.
Yeah.
Very frequently.
True, yeah. I think festivals, is more, but in the Disneyland context, it's very interesting, right? Because like you don't want to harsh on the reality. Do they call them magic bands, magic bracelets? I think they do. You're using magic, which
I'm
is
sure
capital.
there's a diegetic name for it.
There's an article in that for sure. You literally use the magic of like the hidden capital to open doors for yourself in Disneyland. Literally, money becomes magic. That's so cool.
Computers are sort of like rock magic.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Demonic summoning rituals. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to say about this?
No, I didn't really engage very heavily with this chapter because I found it so frustrating and aggravating. The next chapter is probably the most important one, in that it literally directly, when I read it, it made me mad because it literally directly addresses several critiques, and I think it builds straw men and is bullshit.